Hi everybody, welcome to another FLUMEN Paragliding Tips and Tricks video podcast. I hope you're doing just great. In this episode, I will explain you how to do proper pitch control. This video will be the only video you will ever need for adequate pitch control, so stay tuned. Once you master the pitch control, then you can say you're a pilot. Pitch control is probably the most crucial exercise for paraglider pilots. A quick explanation, why do we have a pitch in the first place? A paraglider is a pendulum, a self-stabilizing glider. With the load it has and the angle it has, it will want to maintain the constant speed. And it will, if nothing changes during the flight. We have two types of pitch. The mechanical one, it's the one that you create by running under the wing, slower or faster, or just letting the wing overshoot you on the ground. Paraglider speed depends on the design, load and angle of attack, so brakes or speed bar, but also the density of the air. Assuming that you're not doing any piloting in turbulent air, what changes during the flight is the airspeed. Your weight and the wing have an inertia trying to keep ground speed constant, while wind gusts or changes in the wind direction change the relative wind, the airspeed. The angle of attack also changes if you are entering into the area of descending or ascending air. Also, the wing load changes if you hit a strong lift or a strong sink. Also, the load changes the moment you get the collapse. Guess what? One side gets more load. The air density for us does not change so fast, so I won't be mentioning it, but it has the overall influence on the speeds. So any change in flight regime, the airspeed around the wing will change, and as a result, the wing will search for optimal speed for that specific moment. So the wing either goes back when the relative wind is too high, or it goes forward into a dive when the wing is missing the airspeed. When you pull the brakes, you change the angle of attack. Wing slows down, and adding the momentum of your body into the equation, the wing goes behind you. You push the speed bar, angle of attack changes, paraglider speeds up while your body lags a bit, and thus the wing pitches forward. Even when you stand up upright before the landing, your body creates more drag, therefore makes the wing change its angle of attack and the glide. To recap, the wing always wants to adjust the speed automatically according to the load, angle of attack and the relative wind. It's a good thing, it makes the wing fly without too much effort, well, most of the time. Is it dangerous to have the pitch during the flight? Well, there is no flying without some pitch movement involved. If you're pitching a lot while flying, the first thing is that it's not comfortable to paraglide like that. Also, when you're making turns, every time the wing is in a dive, your turn becomes faster, so you have an uneven, uncontrolled turn. Is it dangerous? In general, it's not. The worst thing that can happen while the wing still has an airspeed, it goes too much in front and you get a frontal. Not pleasant, but you won't fall into the sail. So how do pilots fall into the sail? In general, it's a combination of a couple of factors. The first thing is the wing design. The more advanced slick wing, the less drag, so more prone to go further down. Wing load is an important factor as well. Higher the wing load, the more significant the dive is. The small brake input is dangerous as well. If you have your brakes less than 20% pulled, the wing is more prone to go further into the dive, as it's not braking, just changing the center of pressure further back. The 20% brakes theory will be a topic apart for one of the next episodes, which is really important to know. If you're falling at the moment when the wing goes into a dive, it creates more wing load and the dive will be much more significant. Try now connecting this with the sensation you have when you suddenly get hit by a strong bubble during the thermaling. Your wing loading increases, making the wing jump forward. That explains very well why the wing goes into a dive when you get an asymmetric collapse. A sudden increase in load creates a dive. And as you have a lot of drag on one side, the wing goes into a turn with the dive. If that would not happen, the wing could stall. Well, pilots do stall it by slamming the brake, But yet it's also a topic for another episode. What are the phases of the pitch? To be in control of the pitch, we need first to understand the phases of the pendulum. We have 3 stages of pitch. A moment when the wing goes back and the body moves forward is called the climb phase. At some point, the gravity stops you from moving forward and the wing already slowed down. When you start falling and moving slightly forward and the wing accelerates more than the body, the wing is in the dive phase. When the wing picked up enough speed, it stops moving further, but you're still moving to get under the wing. The phase where you start sliding under the wing we call the acceleration phase. As a pilot, you should be able to distinguish each phase and always think of the next step. You can sing it during practices. Climb, 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 dive, 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 acceleration, acceleration. Okay, so we have division between 3 phases. 1, 2, and 3. So when should you stop the glider, pitch, and how? Can you imagine that the majority of the pilots pull the brakes to stop the pitch too early? By doing many SIVs with experienced pilots, I did notice that the pilots don't have the correct pitch control they should have. Also, a significant percentage of the pilots do not apply brakes enough to stop the pitch, and another portion gets caught off guard and gets quick and colossal dive. To choose the right moment, we have to divide pitch control into 2 different situations. The first one is when the wing is still flying somewhere above us, so it means it had not stalled. The right moment to hit the brakes is when you get your wing moving forward, so in a dive phase, and it is passing above your head, so perpendicular to the horizon. Incorrect timing while pulling the brakes to stop the pitch is always as a result of not having visual contact with the horizon. If you pull the brakes by feeling, when you think the wing goes forward, you always pull too early. To make a correct decision when to pull, you need the visual contact with the horizon. And then you can use your peripheral vision to check the angle of your risers toward the horizon. Being patient and wait for the wing to come above your head is also important, so don't rush. If you have bad timing, it means you're not looking at the horizon but somewhere else. If you like to watch your wing during the flight, I'm sure you have lousy pitch control, apart from being unsafe for everybody. Don't look at your wing, there is nothing to see there. So if the wing is in the dive, when getting above your head, you slam the brakes. Before the dive, the hands are up and waiting. If you find yourself in a situation where you have stalled and you're falling in a stall, the wing is already more or less above your head, so you can't hit the brakes when the wing is above you. To let the wing fly, you need to give it time to accelerate. The wing picks up speed by entering into a dive, so it needs the dive, and it's super important that you let it go into the dive. If I have to generalize the angle, 45 degrees would be a proper angle to leave your wing dive to, the leading edge. And then you can hit the brakes, so the wing does not dive further down. Some low aspect ratio wings won't make it to a 45-degree angle anyways. If you hit the brakes sooner, you risk stalling the wing again. If you let it too far on a performance glider, you risk the mega frontal. If you stalled, let the wing fly. How do you know where is the 45-degree angle is? looking at the horizon again and imagining the angle line when to use the brakes. You will see that it works perfectly, but it needs practice. On the SIV, you should learn more efficient way of doing it smoother. How much brake should you pull to stop the wing? The brake input depends on how far back was the wing, how fast the wing is moving, how much the wing is accelerating, and when you're going to engage the brakes. All that for you means to think of how fast you will pull, how much you will pull, how long you will hold the brakes. The best way for you to make it safe is a quick pull on the brakes more than 20% always, and you hold it until the wing stops, and then you put the hands back up. Bigger the acceleration or speed, more brake you will add or you will hold it more time. Adding more brake quicker stops the wing sooner. As the wing is accelerating during the dive phase, if you catch it above your head, then the stop can be quite quick. The later you start catching it, until some certain point, more brake you will need to stop it. So the force you will need depends on the angle where you're catching the wing. Pilots that fly the wings above their piloting level typically get surprised by pitch movements. Until the brain processes the situation and gives the command to do something about it, the wing is already in the acceleration phase or collapsing. If you're unable to be in control, you're flying a wing that's above your level. And to be honest, we're not superheroes, and being able to react in a split of a second, especially when we get older, is a tough job. Nevertheless, you can cheat if you know the phases, and if your wing went behind you, you have time to prepare to hit the brakes at the right moment, as you know that after the climb comes the dive. If you're too anxious, too slow, or too heavy on the brakes, you can stall the wing easier than you think. If you're a bit anxious or stressed, you will hit the brakes too early, when the wing was not above your head yet, and you can stall. If you are too slow to react, when the wing comes in the acceleration phase and you slam the brakes, you can stall as well due to the higher load and the wing is in the acceleration. If the wing already came to the acceleration phase, there is nothing you should be doing. Being heavy on the brakes can put you in a stall at any point. Remember, the pitch has phases, and trying to keep the wing above your head on stall exit is impossible. So, how can you practice pitch control at your home site? To do pitch control exercise, start always doing them in a calm environment. Laminar air, like the soaring site, is excellent, and you do this little by little. This video is not a replacement exercise for an SIV, but rather a preparation. You start with the dolphins. Begin by having your hands up, and then you start pulling the brakes moderately fast till, let's say, carabiners having a wrap on the brakes. This action creates the climb phase. When you see that you're not going up anymore, release the brakes fast and completely. This first climb will last just a second or two depending on your wing size, wing load and speed. Won't get big. When you put your hands up, your wing goes into the dive phase, then into the acceleration phase. And when you're just under the wing, perpendicular to the ground, you start pulling the brakes again to amplify the climb. Again, pay attention to the horizon. Pendulum movement you have, plus new brake input, sums the energy to make the climb bigger. This time, as the climb is a bit bigger, the time of a climb phase is longer. So your hands have to go down slower. That means the hands come at the carabiners when the climb stops, not before. Many pilots make a mistake when being too fast and they kill the climb. It's not about how much you pull, but it's more about how you pull with the correct timing. You repeat this process until you're making a wave flight that we call dolphins. When you can maintain the same dolphins, the same amplitude, making them also smaller or increasing them in the same go, you can say you're becoming a pilot. When you have big dolphins, you want to stop the wing to practice the pitch control, or better to say, dive control. You should always get ready during the climb phase, looking at the horizon and then pulling the brakes when the wing comes above your head. When you stop the acceleration, put your hands back up and continue the flight. If done correctly, you stop the pitch almost immediately. Remember, if the dolphins are small, there is no need to be slamming the brakes like crazy, thus risking stalling. Every action has its own reaction. If the climb was huge and the wing was far behind you, be ready to pull hard at the right moment. If you're an advanced pilot that flies performant wing, you should master the dolphins to the perfection, and then you can do the next advanced exercise. You make the spiral and then you go out dynamically. That means both hands up quickly, also adding some brakes to get a significant climb. The wing will be completely behind you. Your hands go up quickly, and if the wing did not collapse, you slam the brakes hard when the wing comes above your head. The faster the wing you fly, the better timing and pull of the brakes you have to do. This exercise you should practice gradually, as it can be dangerous if done without supervision. Also, have a lot of altitude below you. I love this exercise, and it's so great to keep your piloting skills sharp. If you watched my video of how to use the brakes in turns, you saw that for thermaling I had all the time some amount of the brakes. If you have watched it and practiced the slow turn, then as you have brakes applied, the wing is flying slower, thus less pitch is involved. During the turns, you can control the pitch by moving your hands up or down symmetrically, but having the difference to keep the turn going. If you feel the wing is going into a climb, you immediately raise your hands so the wing bites in the thermal. By doing so, you skip the climb and your wing stays flat. If you feel the wing wants to go forward, you pull both brakes quickly to stop the dive, and then you put your hands back where they were. When you do a slow turn, these movements don't need to be significant. Small inputs will do fine. If you're doing a fast turn, the corrections have to be more aggressive and more precise. This is a fantastic method to add into slow turns, to have your turn as constant and flat as it can be, and super smooth turns for your passenger that you fly in a tandem. Another place where you want to use the pitch control precisely is at the landing. If there is a wind gradient or turbulent air, the wing can go into dive. And if you don't correct it on time, you can have a hard landing. Some pilots do dive on purpose, a swoop, to gain speed to later convert the speed into a climb, and combined with the flare will reduce ground speed to zero. It's a fantastic thing to practice and a must for tandem pilots. Correct pitch control at the landing saves you from having broken bones or breaking legs to your passengers. In the end, you can always do exercise of pitch control on the ground. Flat surface with the wind of 20 km+ or small slope is a fantastic to play with the wing, moving it back and forth with your brakes and your body. An exercise that is never too much. To recap the whole thing quickly, remember the phases: climb, dive, acceleration. You control the wing in the dive phase when the wing is above you. Where you should be looking: horizon and your risers. When practicing, relax. More relaxed you are, more feeling for the brakes you have. Do it gradually. Use the pitch control in combination with slow turns to upgrade your thermaling to a whole another level. I hope you like this video podcast and you learned something. For a novice pilot, maybe will be good to check this video a couple of times to understand it completely. Don't forget to subscribe by clicking the subscribe button. I'll be publishing videos, so don't lose the next episode. If you feel grateful and you like to support this video podcast, remember us next time when you want to do a good deed. PayPal donations you can do straight to our PayPal account. Please, if you have some questions or you want to see an episode of something that you want to know, just leave a reply below in the comment section. Follow me also at my Instagram account, and if you're interested in doing some courses and coaching, check my school's website www.paraglidingmexico.com, and you can always reach this channel by typing FLUMENparagliding.com into your browser. And by the way, I got the new microphone, so the sound should be better. Thanks, Alvaro. Fly safe and smart.